by him all the administrative structures were instituted that are in the spirit world and that are in the earthly world, which are both visible and invisible. Whether they be thrones, dominions, principalities, or powers, all things were instituted by him and for him. He is the head of all these things, and by him all these things consist. He is the head of the body of the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all administrative affairs he might have the preeminence. Isaiah chapters 40 to 46 has a detailed discussion on Eloah, who is Jehovah, and his creative activities which he accomplished alone. Not through an agent, not through an emissary, not by any other means, all alone. And that's why it's interesting that it's only 4 verses, not very long verses, that have been mistranslated, that are used by the Trinitarians to prove, from their point of view, that Jesus Christ is the creator of all things in the physical and spiritual world. Now, many of covenant-keeping Christian churches actually hold this belief as well, although they generally have dropped the belief that he created the spirit world, but retain the belief that he created all of the physical universe and everything therein. So, Psalm 18:31, just for clarification, for who is Eloah but Jehovah? Who is a rock except our Elohim? So when you see the term Jehovah or Eloah, they're both used in scriptures on occasion, that you can understand from the frame of reference that it's using the name in one place and the title in the other. Okay, Hebrew allows the terms El, Elohim, El Elyon to refer to Eloah, and also the names derived from Yod He Vav He. This is termed in Greek the tetragrammaton, 4 letters, and it does not mean Lord. In most cases, Eloah is evident from the context, or the title is used amongst others, as in Isaiah 44:8. So remember, as in Ecclesiastes 12:1, it is him we serve and not his creation, Romans 1:25, which we are responsible to protect and maintain. Christ is the first one of God's spiritual creation, Revelation 3:14, who was born, human being, and died. The Father cannot die, Romans 10:9, 1 Timothy 6:16. So when people are going to claim that Jesus Christ is a binitarian, or potentially a detheistic structure of 2 true gods, how can one of them die and one never can? Straight pagan theology that's being brought into our face with all of this historical background to this. Christ is the first one of God's spiritual creation, so first from the spirit world to become a human being. Many, many others will, including Satan, will be made human and die. So, the Father does not have a life he can lose in any event. He is life. He created life. He gave us all life. It's not something, I think I'll die this week to save my creation. And that's how it's rendered. He is life. He doesn't have life. Death is part of this creative plan, and the first and second laws of thermodynamics prove it. Everything is deteriorating, and it's all going to deteriorate. And then there'll be a new heavens and a new earth, and it'll continue on in the manner that the Almighty wished it to go in the first place. But we found it too difficult to follow the few simple things he told us to do, like you have this whole garden, and it's in a beautiful temperature, it's never hot or never cold. You can eat all the fruit you want, just don't eat the fruit from that tree. But we weren't able to do that, so here we are. This physical human thinking that is applied to a being that is outside of his creation is almost non-stop, and you'd think they'd be embarrassed about it. It is a salvation belief that Christ died and would have remained dead and rotted without his Redeemer's intercession. Romans 10:9, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That's a salvation belief that Jesus Christ died, and if he hadn't been resurrected, he'd still be dead. Keep that in mind. God the Father can't die. He is life. Now, Christ created or built or made or developed the boards of government, the administrative districts, as we see in Colossians 1:16. He instituted the kingdoms or the heads of state. He set up their dominions and their time and power to act. And Satan has his time and power to act, and when he's after Messiah's return on the Day of Trumpets, 10 days or 10 years later, he'll be put into jail or into captivity where he can't hurt anyone else. But his life isn't taken away from him then, because he has a time to act, and he'll be released again at the end of the millennium. Which, of course, to our human way of thinking, we would never do. If somebody's too much trouble, they should just be killed. No. The time and the territory and the jurisdiction has been granted, and it will be given. Fully, completely. Which seems difficult to grasp that from our human ways of thinking. But anyway, this in no way means that Jesus Christ created the whole physical universe. It's talking about the administrative structure and heads of state and territories and time and their power. So that's what that means. He now, after the successful completion of his task in resurrection, has been given life inherent. He did not have it, or he would not have needed to receive it as a gift from his God and Father. John 5:26. Couldn't be clearer. He is before. Not before in time, meaning he was with his superior brother God in time before anything was created. And then they somehow jointly did it together. That's not what this is rendering in English. We are reading that into it, and that's incorrect. He is at the head of all of these administrations. That's how he is before, not in time. He's at the head of. Colossians 1:17. Often the development or configuring of these administrative structures gets confused with the complete spiritual and material creations that exist in their own dimensions. So we'll cover that again. Colossians 1:15-17. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For him, by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, things visible and invisible, whether thrones, dominions, rulers, or authorities. It doesn't say whether all of the creation and every star and everything else and all of the laws and the gravity and every other forces required to have this universal system function. It doesn't say that at all. All things have been created for him, by him, and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. The visible and invisible are the physical and spirit realms. These have their thrones or dominions, which are the seats of administrative power, as kings or rulers, as executive officers and territories that these authorities oversee, which Christ put in place, verse 16, and is the head over. He is before them, verse 17. In no place is Christ stated to be the creator of the spirit or physical universes. He is God's right-hand man, Colossians 3:1, his CEO. We could conclude that Christ, when he was within the garden with the other Elohim, or gods, may have participated in the manufacture of the Adamic beings. The error of this reason makes Christ your creator and a being we can worship. In fact, we ought to worship if he's your creator. And so what are we told? The word worship needs a follow-up to follow along with this document, but in any way, we are told to worship God the Father only, or alone. Matthew 4:10, Jesus said to him, "Begone, Satan, it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only." See that reflected in Exodus 34:14. You shall not worship any other God, for Jehovah, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. So there's only one true God that you're allowed to worship. We're using the title term Eloah for the name Jehovah. Allah and other names are reasonable as well in Arabic and with other pronunciations. So we have to